Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, yet again, I am joined by special guest Trevon Chris Robertson. Welcome to this the video here, Trevon. Glad to have you with us, and we're going to be doing our final 2021 NFL mock draft video on the channel. Remember, for the live stream, ahead of the live stream of the NFL draft, me and Austin will be doing our final Utility Sports mock draft, but Trevon is bringing his in today for the 2021 NFL draft. This is his final one here on the channel. And we've got the Jaguars here at pick one. Trevon, take us away.
Yeah, so we're not going to waste anybody's time. Obviously, give me Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU. No, we're going to take Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback out of Clemson. There's nothing to say. Don't overthink this pick, Jags, and you'll be happy be happy that you did. The Jets as well. I think that when they traded away Sam Darnold, we were pretty sure that it was going to be a quarterback, and they could shock the world and go Justin Fields, but I see them going Zach Wilson, the quarterback out of BYU. Excuse me.
Right.
So give me him as well.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting part of the draft here where Zach Wilson, if he goes second overall, Justin Fields is on the board, but there's reports the Niners will not look at Fields. But if the Jets do shock the world, go with Fields, it doesn't sound like the Niners would be in a position to take Zach Wilson, as it seems like they're deciding between Mac Jones and Trey Lance at this point. We will probably see either Zach Wilson or Justin Fields fall into Atlanta's hands. Now it comes up to Atlanta. What would they want to do? But before we get to the Falcons, where do you have the 49ers going? They've been the center of all the controversy lately.
Yeah, and I hope and pray that come draft day, that they will just take the player that is not who they could have gotten when they were all the way back down at 12. I'm going to have them go and take Trey Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. You're going to have him sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo and really learn the offense and really learn the system, because you don't want to go from Jimmy Garoppolo to Jimmy Garoppolo again. Like that was my comp for Mac Jones, was Jimmy Garoppolo. That's who I see. I love Mac Jones. I'm an Alabama fan, but he's not somebody that's going to, like, he's the exact same player. You're not getting anything new with him except, hey, I can pay this guy a lot less. If that's what you're going for, then sure, okay, then I understand it.
Yeah, you usually don't trade up, give up 2 future first-round picks to just get the same quarterback. We'll see where San Francisco goes. Is it Mac Jones? Is it Trey Lance? Let us know in the comments below who you think the San Francisco 49ers are going to take. Now moving on to 4, we're at the Atlanta Falcons. This is the pivot point. They could trade down. They could look quarterback. They could look a variety of positions, Trevon. Where do you have Atlanta going at 4?
They could trade this pick very easily because one of the leftover quarterbacks is going to be here. But I don't like to predict trades. I think it's incredibly hard to predict trades, and I think that it's not something that I like to do. I just like to stay put in my mock drafts. So I'm going to have them take the best player in the draft, in my opinion, and that's going to be Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. You're going to get a weapon. Yes, you can say that they have Hayden Hurst there, but this man is not a tight end. This man is a receiver, and he's a receiver in every single statement of the word. Like, he can line up anywhere on the field, and he is a once-in-a-generational talent, and you just take him if you don't trade the pick.
Yeah, very interesting statistic here. I just recently found out about Kyle Pitts. He spent about 9% of his snaps actually playing at the tight end position this past year. That goes to show how versatile he is. Can play out wide, can play out of the slot. He's going to be a beast in the NFL. This Falcons lineup is going to be an absolute monster for teams to face, assuming Julio Jones is still there. Calvin Ridley obviously developing into a very phenomenal receiver himself. Adding Kyle Pitts into the mix just makes them even scarier. Now at pick 5, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals here, Trevon. Where should Cincinnati look? Wide receiver or tackle?
We know Joe Burrow's pounding on the table for them to take his guy, Jamar Chase. But if I was the Bengals, I would sit Burrow down and say, listen, I want you to just take a second and look at your knee. And Jamar Chase isn't going to help that any less. I mean, maybe you could argue, but I mean, we're going to go keep you upright. We're going to get the best tackle in this draft, and that's Penei Sewell out of Oregon. And we're not going to think about it. I think you can make the argument if he didn't get injured. I think then you can make that argument. But the fact that he did get injured, and it was a very significant injury, nonetheless, that you need to keep him up, right? And again, you can make the argument that he wasn't in the pocket when it happened, and I know that. But at the same time, he's not running for his life if he's in that pocket able to make a throw.
Right. Penei Sewell going to be a very good tackle in the NFL. Worst case would kick in and be one of the best guards in the NFL almost on day one. He's going to be a very, very good offensive lineman. I like this fit a lot for the Cincinnati Bengals. Pick number 6 now, Miami's here, and they're kind of in a great position after trading down from 3. They maximize the value there in those trades, and they still have most of the players they probably would have been looking at anyway at 3. Trevon, where do the Dolphins go at 6?
Okay, so at 6, we're going to take the best offensive weapon left on the board, and we're going to go with Jamar Chase, the wide receiver at LSU. You could look to go Bama and get a wide receiver that Tua is accustomed to, which wouldn't be bad because of the chemistry issue the chemistry that you would have automatically between Tua and that receiver. But at the same time, I think you're going to get the best wide receiver prospect that this draft has, and that's Jamar Chase.
Right. Jamar Chase is going to be the first wide receiver off the board on draft night. If he isn't, I would be extremely shocked. It's a very strong draft class for that wide receiver position, but I think Jamar Chase is in a class of his own at that wide receiver position. I am extremely high on him. I'll be doing a big board for you guys for tomorrow that you guys will get to see my rankings on these prospects, probably do a top 100 in that video. But Jamar Chase, I'm very fond of him. He goes here 6 to Miami. Now moving on to Detroit. We've got Dan Campbell's Lions here. Where does Detroit go?
I think that given the board of how everything's falling, you could argue wide receiver and tackle is also an option, I think, as well. I think that this is also a prime spot for anybody to trade up. I think, again, just basically of who's ever left over, I think that the spots to trade would be 4 and 7, personally, in my opinion. But I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to have them take Justin Fields, the quarterback at Ohio State. I think that if he falls to them, I think that he's too tempting to not take because you have Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not the future. You got Goff as a consolidation prize along with I think it was 2 first-round picks for Justin Fields. So you're not taking him. You're not gonna have that as your future. You want your guy, and you can go get Justin Fields, who can be a difference maker day one. And even if you don't want him to start day one, you can have him sit behind a year behind Goff until you figure out where you want to move Goff or whatever the case may be. That's a very expensive backup quarterback. So.
Exactly right. Justin Fields, a perfect option here. He's a toolsy player, has all the physical traits you're looking for. If he's given a little bit of time to develop, he could be a very nice option. Now at 8, we got the Carolina Panthers. There's some rumors going around that they are shopping this pick, possibly talking with the New England Patriots about moving down. But with them sticking at 8 here, where does Carolina go, Trevon?
I think that the best, like you see it right there, the team needs is tackle, and there's like the most NFL ready tackle. Not the best tackle, the most NFL ready tackle, and that's Rashawn Slater, the tackle out of Northwestern. So you're gonna get him, and then you're gonna protect Sam Darnold, and you're also gonna help your run game out tremendously. You know, Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the league by far, and you need to help. I think he had a lot of injuries last year. Granted, it was a COVID year. So tons of players had injuries, but, you know, you want to protect him, also help him a lot. You know, this guy makes something out of nothing. How about he have something in front of him and watch magic happen? So we're going to take Rashawn Slater here.
I like this a lot for Carolina. They've really addressed their offensive line, put the franchise tag on Taylor Moton. They brought in Pat Elflein in free agency. I think he's a good fit to their system there in Carolina. And now bringing in Rashawn Slater, the best pass blocker in this class, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a great option there at 8. Now moving into 9, we got the Denver Broncos here. Their team could have been quarterback needy. Mac Jones is still on the board, but they also could use a variety of other positions. Trevon, where do your AFC West rivals go at pick 9?
I think that cornerback is a very intriguing option here, and I think that you could go. You have the best cornerback on the draft still, as nobody's been taken in that regard. But I think that Micah Parsons is very intriguing to them, and considering the fact that they haven't really had a linebacker in a very, very long time that teams feared and really like could build around that you want as your middle linebacker and the anchor of your defense. I think that he's too far to pass up. He has some character issues, but the Broncos have shown many times that they don't really care if you have character issues as long as you can show that they can play. You think about a player like Shane Ray a couple years ago who had character issues. So we're gonna go get Micah Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State, and really solidify the middle of our defense. Where a lot of people think that they're a quarterback away from being Super Bowl contenders. I don't really view that at all. But you give yourself a defensive piece to help build already. You have Von Miller coming back, so that's going to be tremendous as well.
Right, you're looking at a much improved cornerback room there in Denver. Now they bring in someone in the middle of their defense with Micah Parsons, who's extremely talented. The first defensive player off the board in this mock draft, and it's very possible on draft night, this is how it could play out, where we see all offense through the first 8 picks. That will be a fun development to watch for. And now at pick 10, we have the Dallas Cowboys here. Trevon, I think cornerback is the one need that really jumps off the page here, especially with the 2 top tackles off the board. Is Dallas looking corner?
I think that there are 3 locks in the first round, and that's the Jaguars, and that's the Jets, and then the other one is the Cowboys and Patrick Surtain, the cornerback out of Alabama. If he's there, like I said, the Broncos could take him, but if he's there, Jerry Jones is. I hope and pray that you make the correct pick and go get the number 1 corner. I think this guy's probably the best cornerback to come out since like Jalen. This guy has so many elite traits. He's not like a burner cornerback, but he's a handy cornerback. We all know Darrelle Revis wasn't a speedy guy, but those guys didn't get past him because he was so technically sound. I'm not saying that he's going to be Revis, just giving an example of you don't have to be the fastest guy in the cornerback room to be the most effective. Revis is the best corner ever, and he never had that type of elite top end speed, but he was able to just disrupt the routes so incredibly well, and that's what we see in Patrick Surtain is he really does not have a lack of speed at all, like given the fact of all his other athleticism traits and how smart of a player he is.
Right, he's got great hips. He's also got incredible length, standing at 6'2", very long arms as well. He's going to play that position well, and we see Dallas here going back to that Alabama cornerback well, where they got Trevon Diggs from last year. I think this pick is a lock as well if he's on the board. Pick 11, now we got the New York Giants. Trevon, wide receivers have fallen a little bit. Is that the selection here for the New York Giants?
Basically how everything is, I think that it's going to be the pick. You could make the argument that they got Kenny Golladay, and that's enough. Kenny Golladay is probably a low end wide receiver 1, mid-tier wide receiver 1. So you can make that suggestion, but I think you really need to look at this draft and really need to say, I need to give Daniel Jones as less of an excuse as humanly possible. And how you do that is you get him weapons upon weapons upon weapons, and you go and get another weapon, a Tyreek Hill clone, and Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver at Alabama. This kid is a stud. He's phenomenal, and he is, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver in this draft. Outside of Jamar Chase. I think that it's really what you value more, who you like better. But I like Jalen Waddle a lot. The only reason I think that he's not the first wide receiver taken off the board is because of his injury. And that's obviously extremely concerning given the fact that he is a speedster wide receiver. I think the best way if I was to describe Jalen Waddle, the best way that I do it, I say that he's a combination of the 2 Alabama wide receivers that went in the first round last year, and Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy. And you put those 2 together, you get Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, he's a very good route runner, a lead after the catch, a total burner as well. He would have been the first wide receiver off the board last year had he been in that draft class. And he's been very productive in his career at Alabama when both him and Devontae Smith are on the field at the same time. Jalen Waddle's just been the better wide receiver, to be completely honest. That's why he goes before Devontae Smith in this mock draft. He lands number 11 in New York. I think that's a perfect compliment to Kenny Golladay. Staying now in the NFC East for the 3rd straight pick, we have the Philadelphia Eagles here. They need wide receiver. They need cornerback. Which direction does Philly go at 12?
I think Philly, again, we were talking off air that they could go corner, but I think they need to really nail a wide receiver. They need to nail this. They need to nail this right in the head. So I'm going to get the third receiver in this draft that really, when you look at it, it sounds bad, but it's not. He's a tremendous athlete, and I think that it's incredibly terrible that there's this narrative that he's too small and that he won't last in the NFL. This guy played in the SEC and he plays against NFL talent. He goes up against NFL talent every single day in practice, every single Saturday when they play when they play other teams. He is phenomenal. He showed just the type of weapon that he can be. This guy won the Heisman as a wide receiver. We're gonna go take Devonta Smith, the wide receiver at Alabama, and I don't want to hear the narrative of that anymore. We need to realize that this kid can ball, and I think that he can show that going back with his former teammate at once, Jalen Hurts.
Right. Devontae Smith has incredible hands, very good deep route runner as well. He is great at taking the top off the defense. My only question for him is, what does his short to intermediate game look like as a wide receiver? But all in all, he is definitely a first-round wide receiver. I think Philadelphia, their need to grab a wideout here is perfect, as we see 3 Alabama players go back to back to back here from 10 to 12 in this draft. Now at 13, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers here. Cornerback and tackle. We have a mock draft up on the channel dedicated to just the Chargers. Check it out here in the cards. But now, Trevon, at 13, where does the Chargers look?
I think that J.C. Horn is obviously an extreme, and it could be very well the pick here. But I'm gonna do what I did before, and I'm just gonna take Christian Darrisaw to tackle out of Virginia Tech. I think that you've ignored this problem enough, and we've filled every single hole on the offensive line through free agency other than tackle. And I think that you did that because you knew that you could get a tackle. You could wait. If I was the general manager, I would take J.C. Horn here and then trade back into the first with somebody that's willing to, and then go get somebody later, like a Samuel Cosme or Liam Eichenberg or somebody, or Dylan Runes, somebody like that. But in this scenario, you're just gonna take the best tackle that's left, and you aren't extremely happy. But I think that the fact that we have put quality players on our offensive line, I think that Christian Darrisaw can shine, given the fact that he has all these great players around him to succeed.
Right. Tom Telesco has shown a willingness in the past to trade back up into the first round. Did so last year for Kenneth Murray. I think Christian Darrisaw is a very solid pick here. Maybe it's not that exciting, flashy pick that you'd maybe hope, and possibly Brandon Staley does want to look at that cornerback spot. But all in all, I feel very good about Darrisaw landing 13 to the Chargers. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings here now at 14. They have an abundance of needs. They could use an edge rusher across from Danielle Hunter. They could use some interior offensive line help. Also, cornerback, a real question of concern for me. I know Mike Zimmer, and Mike Zimmer's looked at that position multiple times in recent drafts, hasn't gotten it right. Is this year he gets it right, or where does he look?
I've been mocking this one player to the Vikings all the time, and nothing's going to change. I see that on this board. He's, I guess, fallen. I don't know why, but you're going to give me Elijah Vera-Tucker, the offensive lineman out of USC. I think that he's so versatile, and he's exactly what the Vikings need at that offensive line. The fact that you can fill out the rest of the roster really knowing that you have this chess piece. Later in the draft, if you find that you think that there's a tackle that you really like later, you can double dip and get another offensive lineman and put him at tackle and put Elijah Vera-Tucker at guard, or vice versa. If you see there's a guard that you really like, you can put Elijah Vera-Tucker at tackle and then put him at guard. I think the fact that he gives you that versatility is a tremendous value.
Yes, versatility is always a key in roster building. The best teams in the NFL often have players who can do a multitude of things. That was a big part of the New England Patriots dynasty, having guys do a variety of things for their organization. Now here at 15, we have the New England Patriots on the clock, and their quarterback seems to have fallen. Seems like they're going to be aggressive, trying to move up into the top 10. But in this mock draft without trades, is Mac Jones the clear and obvious pick at 15?
Yes, he's gonna be the pick, the quarterback out of Alabama. I think that you're able to stay here and still get your guy. Like I said before, I don't really like to predict mock drafts, but I think that a prime spot would be the Chargers at 13 if if the Patriots want to move up, or 7. There's tons of 7 might be the better because they have such a connection. The Lions and the Patriots, how they are. But I think that they can, given the fact that I don't do trades, they get Mac Jones here, the quarterback out of Alabama. He could be gone way, way, way before this at 3. But I'm hoping and praying that the Niners don't do that. But I'm gonna have them take Mac Jones.
Everything hinges on what San Fran does at 3. Mac Jones here in this mock draft does land with the New England Patriots. I think that is a real possibility if the Niners don't snatch him up at pick 3. Now moving on to 16, we've got the Arizona Cardinals here at the midway point of the first round. And this is probably a dream scenario for them. They have their pick between J.C. Horn and Caleb Farley. I think it's very likely that they look at cornerback at pick 16. Trevon, which one of those 2 corners would you prefer for Arizona?
I like Caleb Farley more, but I think injuries really do concern me. And apparently there's a lot of rumblings around the league that we don't know. Like, he might be in for a long, long, long fall, apparently, because it just depends on how teams view that injury. Like, if he falls into the second round or something like that's going to be, we'll really gauge how he tested, apparently, and how the medical exams really went for him. So because of that, I'm just gonna go J.C. Horn. I'm gonna get our Patrick Peterson replacement. He's a similar type of mold of Patrick Pete, big, long, lengthy type of corner. Really, what corners have been turning into as of recently in the league. So I think that you're incredibly ecstatic that you basically get to pick between. Caleb Farley wouldn't be bad. It's just a matter of how do you view that injury.
Right. And Cliff Kingsbury there is probably going to be looking to try and make the playoffs this year. Someone with some injury concerns probably wouldn't be the pick over J.C. Horn, just given the fact that Horn's healthy, he's going to be available, and he does fit what they're looking to do there in Arizona. 17, now we got the Las Vegas Raiders here. They've been a real question point for me. They could look at tackle. They could look along the defensive line. Linebacker, still a massive need as well. They need a lot of help in the secondary. This team, I think they took a lot of steps backward this year. We'll see. Can they fix it here at pick 17, Trevon?
Yes. So they really rebuild their whole offensive line this offseason. They got rid of 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen. And I think that because maybe they saw this offensive line draft and really thought we like a lot of people here, I think that they are pretty upset that Darisaw is gone, because I think that that's probably, if the Chargers don't take him, I think that's a lock in my opinion. Darisaw to the Raiders, but I'm gonna go get Tevin Jenkins, the tackle at Oklahoma State, and just give me a solid day 1 starter that I can plug in there. And again, we're rebuilding, so I think that defense is also an option, given the fact of how tremendously poor that defense was last year. But we're gonna go get a tackle. I think that's more important.
Tevin Jenkins comes in. I like the film a lot from him out of Oklahoma State. I think that he's a player that's been a little undervalued throughout this process. It's even possible we could see him be the 3rd tackle off the board ahead of Christian Darisaw, possibly. I think that's a little bit of a toss-up right now. It just comes down to what GM prefers, Jenkins or Darisaw. At this point, Jenkins landing at 17, I think that does make a lot of sense. Jumping to 18 now, we have the Miami Dolphins. Jamar Chase was their pick at 6. How do they complement that pick here at 18, Trevon?
I'm going to have them go with their hometown guy and Jalen Phillips, the edge out of Miami. I think that he's been, I think he tested extremely well at his pro day, a lot better than his counterpart, who I believe is, what's his name? The other Miami edge player, I forget.
Quincy Roche.
Yeah, Quincy Roche. So we're gonna go get Jalen Phillips, and he's the first edge taken off the board. I think as far as edge taken first, it's like a 3-guy toss up of who you like more: Kwity Paye, Aloja Ari, and Jalen Phillips as well. But we're gonna go get our hometown guy and Jalen Phillips.
I love that. Phillips stays here in the city of Miami, now playing for the Miami Dolphins. I think he's the edge 1 in this class. He is for me, and I think that is going to be a good grab for the Dolphins. 19, now we've got the Washington football team. They did just bring in an offensive lineman today in Eric Flowers in a trade with the Miami Dolphins for a late-round swap. We'll see now, does Washington still look along the offensive line, or are they looking somewhere else, Trevon?
I had this player mocked before that trade, and I just have that player mocked again after that trade because I know now for a fact that we got our offensive guy. Maybe it's not for the future, but we don't have to go get one in round one. It's not a glaring super duper need. We're gonna go get another need and Owusu Koromora, the linebacker out of Notre Dame. This guy is a linebacker, can even play safety. He's a type of hybrid freak athlete, and I think that when you add him to that defense, it really is gonna, it's gonna be something to watch. That defense is already incredible. Almost knocked off Tom Brady in the first round of the playoffs, and you give him, you give him to them, and that defense is gonna be scary.
That front four is already insane what they put together on that defensive line. And adding Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah not only makes them better, but makes them probably one of the best, if not the best, front sevens in all of football. That's how high on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah I am. I think that he's been extremely underrated by most of the media and a lot of fans during the process. I think that he is going to be a top 10 player from this class more than likely. I would be surprised if he isn't. He's an absolute field general, great in pass coverage, good in the run game. I think he's going to be a very good linebacker in the NFL with some potential to stay on the field on key third downs, cover out in the slots a little bit, cover tight ends. He's going to do it all for Washington. Pick 20, we got the Chicago Bears here. They need offensive tackle bad, but the board hasn't really played out too well for them. Where else could Chicago look?
I think that Chicago in this scenario, I think they could look at Caleb Farley. A good hard look at it, given the fact they lost Kyle Fuller and you get his replacement right there. I think that there's a quarterback, like if Mac Jones is still on the board, I think that you go him, but in this case he's not. So we're gonna go to the tackle position. We're gonna go to tackles and see who's left, and I'm gonna go get Samuel Cosmi, the tackle out of Texas. I think that you just got to give eventually your future quarterback somebody like to protect them, you know. So we're gonna get Samuel Cosmi here. I think he's a really really solid tackle. I like him a lot actually.
Yeah, Cosmi comes in here at 20 to be the long-term tackle. This year protecting Andy Dalton. I grimace every time I have to say that during mock drafts, but he is going to be the long-term tackle protecting someone post Andy Dalton. I know Bears fans, you can't wait for that day where you are post Andy Dalton, but for this year, Cosmi will be protecting him. 21 now, we have the Indianapolis Colts. They need a tackle bad as well. Do we stick at the tackle spot at 21, or do they look at wide receiver maybe to help out Carson Wentz?
I think that that's obviously an option. I think tackle. I think they would have liked it better if Samuel Cosme was here, and I think that he would have been the pick. But I look at a player that has fallen, and I think that his fall ends here. I'm gonna go take Caleb Farley, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech. I think that because they're so well put together of a roster, they can take a chance on this guy and really hope and pray that this guy can play ball. Because if that's the case, they're getting probably a toss up. But like I said, so I think Surtain is better even when healthy, but I think that there's an argument for Farley as well. And I think that if you can get him here at 21, if he stays healthy, this might be the steal of the draft.
I think so as well, Farley. I really like what he brings in terms of his ball skills. He's going to be a takeaway machine on the next level. He's got good frame, good athleticism. There's an unofficial 4.2840 of him that got posted. Now, I'm not sure if that's an exact time. Obviously, that is an unofficial time that's not been approved. But all in all, good athlete, good ball skills, and a great cornerback for the future. 22 now, Tennessee Titans badly need cornerback, but we see the top three off the board. They lost their starting cornerbacks. They also really badly need a wide receiver to complement A.J. Brown. This roster is void of talent at those two skill positions. Where do they look here at 22, Trey?
I think if Caleb Farley here, he's the pick. And I think they've shown a willingness that they don't really care about a future, a past injury history. So I think that Caleb Farley would make a lot of sense here, but he's obviously not here. So you're going to get the next best corner on the board, and you're going to go get Greg Newsome, the quarterback out of Northwestern. And I think that he's one of the most fluent hip flippers I've ever seen. He's incredibly fluent in his movements, and I think that's a trait that you can't really teach. Like, you have to be you can teach it, but you have to really be natural. And I think that he has all the tools to be that starting caliber cornerback. I think that he does need a little bit of work. And I think that there are some of his game that aren't always the best, but I think that he has the measurables and the athleticism to really excel at the next level.
Yeah, I see Newsome here picking up speed a little bit as we get closer to the NFL draft. He is the youngest cornerback in the class as well. That will do him some good when getting looked at by evaluators saying, hey, he's still young. There's still a lot left in the tank in terms of potential. He comes in 22 to the Titans. Now my New York Jets here are at 23. They grab Zach Wilson at 2. Do we find a weapon? Do we look defense? What do the Jets do here, Trevon?
I think we're going to go and get – I mocked him the last time. I'm going to go get Kwity Paye, the edge out of Michigan, and give you a pass rusher. The Jets have always been historically great when they have an amazing defense, and you solidify that getting the head coach and Robin Salah, and I really think that he got the offensive guy. Now he's gonna go get a guy for him and his guy. And I think it really starts at that edge position. We all know that he had Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas as well of all these pass rushes, a plethora of pass rushes in San Francisco. So we're going to go get our own and Kwity Paye.
Right. We are seeing that type of dedication to the defensive line there from GM Joe Douglas, head coach Robert Saleh for the New York Jets. They've spent a lot of money in free agency on that D-line, and they come in here, use pick 23 on Kwity Paye to really round out that unit. Look for them in days 2 and 3 then to address other positions on the football field. But I do like this fit there in New York. 24, now we got the Pittsburgh Steelers here, Trevon. They're a team with that's a little bit of an open book. What player do you see going here at 24?
I think cornerback is an extremely need. I think that I don't necessarily love at this spot all the talent here. So because of that, we're going to go get a replacement for James Conner. We're going to go get the best running back in the draft, Najee Harris, in my opinion. Najee Harris out of Alabama. You really need another weapon. And I think that he would fit amazing in this offense, given the fact of the wide receiver weapons that they have plenty. With Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster again, James Washington. And now you put Najee Harris to be able to catch out of the backfield. That's a dangerous offense right there.
Yet another Alabama product to go off the board. That is the 5th Alabama player in this first round. Very, very possible that we do see that many go in the first round. Najee Harris, the best running back in this class. He really improved as a pass catcher as well his final year at Alabama. Now moving on to Jacksonville at 25. They got their quarterback of the future. Do they look tackle, wide receiver, or are they focused on that defense?
I think because they have another pick in the second round coming out real soon, I think that you can wait on a tackle and you can get because I don't really foresee anybody. They're the only team that might get a tackle coming up in the next couple of picks is maybe the Bucks at 32, but I mean. After that, I think it's a whole abundance of a mixture of defense and a lot of wide receiver picks coming up next. So we're going to go get the best safety in this draft and Trevon Moehrig, and really gives you another piece for the puzzle for that defense. And I think that he's able to do so many different things in that defense, and I think that he'd be an amazing pick there.
Yeah, Trevon Moehrig comes in at 25 out of TCU. I love what he brings. He diagnoses plays quickly, gets into the backfield, a very good tackler in the box, but also has some skills that you're looking for to be a cover safety as well. I think Moehrig is obviously the top safety in this class. I would be surprised if another safety even comes close to touching him in terms of what his impact will be year one in the NFL. 26, now we got the Cleveland Browns. They badly need linebacker. They could also look on the interior defensive line after releasing Sheldon Richardson just a few weeks ago. Where do the Browns go here, Trevon?
I'm going to have them go take Christian Barmore, the interior defensive line at Alabama. This guy's fierce. He's mean. There's been some rumors that a lot of people think that he's uncoachable, that he's too full of himself. But at the end of the day, we're going to put this monster next to another monster and Myles Garrett, and we're just going to let him run free. I think that he's an amazing in the run defense, and he can offer a little bit in the pass rush department as well.
You're looking at a much better Browns defense now when it comes to the run game, adding not only Christian Barmore, but also Jadeveon Clowney a few weeks ago as well. You're looking at a much better defensive line. We've been talking on the channel for months how they need to help out Myles Garrett greatly on that defensive front. Adding Barmore and Jadeveon Clowney in one offseason does exactly that. Pick 27, we got the Baltimore Ravens here, and they're probably very happy with who's on the board. Azeez Ojulari, a very good fit. Rashad Bateman would be a great fit. Even Zaven Collins would make some sense here, someone who's a little bit dynamic at that linebacker position. Trevon, who are you opting for here if you're Baltimore?
I think that they had to trade a couple days ago, so now they're picking 31 as well. And I think that I look at the next couple teams and I see like one of these picks needs to be a wide receiver. And just given the fact of who's after this pick, you can pretty much guess that there's probably going to be at least one or two wide receivers taken in the next couple picks. So you're going to go get your choice of the next best wide receiver. So give me the wide receivers on the board, and we're gonna go get Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota, and I think that you give yourself a solidified number one wide receiver type of guy. He's really underrated receiver in this draft class for sure.
Yeah, hear me out here on this. I am a big time believer in Rashad Bateman. I think there's a chance he could be the second best wide receiver in this class, not including Kyle Pitts, who's a tight end. In my opinion, Rashad Bateman going to be very, very good in the NFL. And the Baltimore Ravens should be ecstatic here. He's a perfect fit with Lamar Jackson. He's going to be able to work across the middle of the field, bring you yards after the catch, but he's also got that prototypical frame you're looking at. He's a great complement to Hollywood Brown, and he's going to be a phenomenal receiving option for Baltimore. 28 now, we got the New Orleans Saints, Trevon. They have a variety of needs. Where do the Saints look now?
I think that they're going to want another weapon. And I look at a playmaker, wide receiver on the board still. And we're going to go get Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. And we're extremely happy because this guy, you give him the ball and just let him work his magic. I think that you already have the sort of possession receiver in Michael Thomas and do everything really true number one receiver. And I think that you add the threat of this guy, that offense is going to be incredibly hard to stop, even given the fact of Alvin Kamara as well. Like right. Sean Payton would have a field day with this guy.
Yeah, Sean Payton will have a massive grin on his face if Kadarius Toney is the pick. Extremely shifty, good physicality as well. He's going to be a very nice electric weapon for them in New Orleans. 29 now. The Green Bay Packers here on the clock. They have some injuries at tackle, especially David Bakhtiari, who's going to miss a majority of next year, is my thoughts. Also, wide receiver. A lot of people have been clamoring for a wide receiver need there in Green Bay, despite the potency of that offense. Where do we see the Packers go at 29?
I think that you can wait on offensive linemen because of the fact that they have this track record of really getting good offensive linemen later. Like Corey Linsley is now the highest paid center in the league, and he was, I believe, a 4th or 5th round pick, as well as David Bulaga, who's also a Charger, who's one of the top rated right tackles in the league as far as pay grade goes. So we're gonna now finally give this man Rodgers a weapon. And I think that here it's a pick 'em. I think that the only reason it's not Terrence Marshall is one, because I think he's a lot more raw of a prospect, and he's a bigger receiver. And Devontae Adams is a bigger receiver. I think he's like 6'2", really type of route running guy. So we're going to go get Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. This guy reminds me a lot of a former Ole Miss wide receiver and A.J. Brown, and he really does a lot. I like Elijah Moore a lot. I think this guy is extremely solid, and I think that giving him Rodgers is only going to propel him to the upper echelon of wide receivers.
Yeah, I really like Elijah Moore as well. He's going to be a great slot option there for the Green Bay Packers. I think a perfect complement to Devontae Adams. Pick 30, we have the Buffalo Bills here. Running back's a big need. Could also look at a cornerback too to try and match up better with the Kansas City Chiefs. Which way do you see the Bills going on draft night?
I think that obviously it's super important for defense. I think that go to the cornerbacks for a second. Like, let me make sure that I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, so given the fact of how this board has gone, I am going to actually go edge. And this guy has been flying up draft boards now. And I'm going to go get Joe Tryon, the edge player out of Washington. This guy was looked at as maybe round 3 prospect at the start of the draft season, and now he's coming, as we see, all the way up to one. I think he has such elite traits, and he brings such a high motor to the field that can't be ignored. Again, I think cornerback is an option as well. I just think that, again, this cornerback class is incredibly deep, and I can get a starter later, and the edge players really start to dwindle lower and lower. I think that once it gets past like Jason Owe is really when we see a drop of talent. So we're going to go get Joe Tryon.
Right. We see our third edge now go off the board here to Buffalo. Joe Tryon comes in. I think he's a great fit into that Sean McDermott defense. Now at 31, we got the Ravens on the clock again. They grabbed Rashad Bateman at 27. Now at 31, they're looking for other ways to complement this football team. Where do they go now?
They're going to go defense, and they're licking their chops, and they're seeing Alari right there for the taking because I mocked them to take him at 27. But the fact of that they have this second, blessed with the second pick, I think they're able to wait. Like I said, as we saw, there was a run on wide receivers in my draft. There was 3 wide receivers taken. So I definitely think that the next best thing is getting an edge guy, and I think that he's the best available edge. Could end up very well being the best edge in the draft completely.
If this is how the board falls for the Baltimore Ravens on draft night, they would be my instant winner. They grabbed Rashad Bateman, who I think is a perfect wide receiver option, and then they add in Azeez Ojulari, who's a perfect replacement to Matthew Judon. In fact, I think they improve already adding in Ojulari there at that position. The Ravens, with only having picks 27 and 31, would be my instant winners because they didn't have the capital of what the Jets have at pick 2, what the Jaguars have at pick 1, but still got a lot done for their football team. I love this here. And now the final pick of the first round, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before we go into that, I just want to urge you all, hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any utility sports coverage. Moving forward, Trevon, break it down. Final pick of the first round. Where do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look to go?
I don't know why it says that wide receivers like the best need. They have Evans and as well as Chris Godwin. So I don't see wide receiver being the pick here. I'm gonna look at edge, and I was saying before there's a drop past this guy, and I'm gonna go get Jason Owe out of Penn State. I think that you give just another pass rusher to this defense that is already lights out. We've seen how they gave the blueprint of how to stop Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs really took that to heart and really revamped that offensive line over this offseason. So I don't think we'll be seeing that much happen very often. But you just give another. There's one thing that you can never have enough pass rushers, never. And I think that giving him, he doesn't even have to be a starter right away. Getting him to learn behind Shaq Barrett and the rest of the crew there. Oh, that defense is already nasty as it is.
Right, Jason Owe, a good long-term replacement option to JPP as he goes into the back end of his career. I like this a lot for Tampa Bay. I think he's a great fit into what their system is there. And Tampa Bay, they're in a nice situation. Just won a Super Bowl, kept all their starters, and still get to add on more talent in this year's draft. They're going to be dangerous again next year. Tom Brady in pursuit of ring number 8. We'll see if he gets it. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. Trevon, thanks again for being on, and we'll catch you guys in the next Utility Sports video.